Any project you're going to tackle, whether it's building a new app or just renovating your kitchen, it really all comes down to one fundamental choice. It's a choice between two powerful but really different philosophies for getting things done. So let's dive in and explore them. So let me ask you this. When you're staring down a big, complex project, what's your gut reaction? Are you the type of person who needs to map out every single step in painstaking detail before you start? Or are you more comfortable just diving in and adapting as you go? Your answer actually puts you on one of two very distinct paths in the world of project management. And those two paths are guided by two totally different mindsets. On one side, you've got the predictive approach. Its philosophy is simple. Plan the work, then work the plan. It's all built on foresight and stability. Then you have the adaptive approach, which works on a completely different principle. Adapt the plan as you work. This path is all about flexibility and learning as you go. Now, these two philosophies give rise to the two big methodologies we're going to break down today, Waterfall and Agile. So let's get to know our two main characters. First up is Waterfall, the traditional linear method. The name itself paints a perfect picture, doesn't it? Work flows steadily downwards in one direction through a series of phases. You absolutely must complete one phase entirely before the next one can even begin. The skyscraper analogy is perfect here. You wouldn't start putting up walls before the foundation is perfectly set, and that foundation is based on a fixed, final blueprint that's not supposed to change. And then there's Agile. It's a completely different animal. Instead of one long, sequential push to the finish line, an Agile project evolves through a series of short, repeatable cycles. In this garden metaphor is a great way to think about it. You don't just follow a rigid plan from day one. You plant a little, you watch, you learn from the soil and the weather, and you're constantly adapting your strategy to get the best possible harvest. So, how do these different philosophies actually work in the real world? Let's start right at the beginning of any project, figuring out what it is you're supposed to build. This right here highlights a huge disagreement between the two. It's all about the nature of requirements. Waterfall is built on the belief that you can, and you absolutely should, know everything up front. The whole goal is to define, document, and lock in the project's scope at the very start to minimize any changes down the line. Agile, though, assumes the exact opposite, that you can't possibly know everything, that requirements are bound to change, and that change is actually a source of value. It's designed to use constant feedback to refine and even replace those initial ideas. Okay, so we've got our requirements, whether they're carved in stone or just sketched on a napkin. So what's next? Let's look at how the actual work gets done. The waterfall process is a classic relay race. Seriously, each team completes its stage and then hands off the baton to the next team in the sequence. The requirements phase has to be 100% done before design can start, design has to be completely finished before the build starts, and so on, all the way down the line to deployment. Agile, on the other hand, is a series of short sprints. Now, there's still a high-level roadmap, but the team works in these small, digestible chunks, usually just 1 or 2 weeks at a time. And they produce a working, functional piece of the project at the end of every single cycle. And this really illustrates a key difference in what you get and when you get it. With Waterfall, the big reveal only happens at the very end, meaning your stakeholders might wait for months to see the final product. But with Agile, they see progress constantly. They get their hands on a new, working piece of the product every few weeks, which lets them give immediate feedback that shapes what happens next. This massive difference in process also leads to a very different style of leadership and team structure. So who's in charge here? In the Waterfall world, a project manager acts as a central director, coordinating all the moving parts. Their leadership is directive. The job is to make sure everyone sticks to that master plan. In Agile, leadership is decentralized. The teams are self-organizing, and the leader acts more like a coach. This is often called servant leadership. Their primary goal isn't to give orders, but to remove obstacles and empower the team to do their best work. And a huge part of that team empowerment involves the stakeholders. In Agile, a role called the product owner is basically embedded with the team. They're the voice of the customer, and they're responsible for prioritizing the work to make sure the team is always building the most valuable thing at any given moment based on what the business actually needs right now. All right, let's talk about maybe the most critical difference between these two methodologies. What happens when things just don't go according to plan? In any project, change is inevitable, right? A new competitor shows up, customer needs shift, a better technology becomes available. Change always has a cost, but the real question is how you manage it. And this is where it gets really interesting. Waterfall sees change as a risk, something to be controlled through formal, often bureaucratic procedures. And the cost of making a change, it skyrockets the further you get into the project. Agile, however, expects and even embraces change as an opportunity. The cost is kept low because adjustments can be made in each short cycle. Instead of a formal change control board, you simply reprioritize the work for the next sprint. It's built right into the system. So after seeing all these differences, the big question is, which path should you take? The key isn't that one is universally better, but that each one is the right tool for a very different kind of job. Honestly, the choice is pretty logical. If your project is predictable, like building a bridge where the physics are known and the blueprint is set, Waterfall is a fantastic, reliable choice. But if your project is full of unknowns, like developing a brand new software product for a fast-moving market, you really need the flexibility of Agile to navigate that uncertainty and discover the best solution along the way. And this leaves us with a final thought. As our world becomes more and more complex and unpredictable, will the need for adaptation become so great that Agile just becomes the default? Or will there always be a place for the steady, predictable blueprint of Waterfall? It's something to think about for your next big